In this segment, we'll talk about the essentials that an executive should know about the wine region of Alsace in France. When we say essentials that an executive should know, some of those things would include what are the grapes in a given region, what are the flavors and aromas that you can expect to see in a glass of wine from that region, how would you pair that wine with food if you're ordering at a client dinner perhaps, and what are the bottles on the menu that you really should know, or what should you look for on the menu if you're picking out a bottle of this wine. A couple of things to also keep in mind with Alsace, in terms of essentials, would be that these wines are labeled by the varietal, which is to say that they label their wine by the type of grape that's inside. So, for example, a Gewürztraminer, that's an Alsatian grape. If it's listed as such, that's what's in the bottle. The rest of France does not follow this convention. The rest of France will label something a Bordeaux. They may label a Burgundy, for example, Champagne. These are names of places, and then you have to know the grapes. In Alsace, it's a different story. Here, they name the wine by the type of grape that's inside, called varietal labeling. Another thing to keep in mind is the German influence. This is an area close to the German border. You'll see German language involved in the labeling. Here, a lot of German influence in the wines and in the labeling. And lastly, but importantly, it's a white wine region, driven by white wines. Now, that could be expected because it's a bit cooler area, and cooler areas tend not to be able to produce or to ripen red grapes fully. Geographically, Alsace is on the border of Germany. That's where that German influence comes from. As you can see geographically, it's also in the north. Again, lending it toward a cooler climate and more of a white grape-dominated environment. Now, to look at the grapes, Gewürztraminer and Riesling are really the two big grapes that you should remember, that an executive should know, that originate from Alsace. Let's start with Gewürztraminer. Now, Gewürz, even the word Gewürztraminer, Gewürz means spice. And here you can pick out a lot of that in the Gewürztraminer. So a lot of people, when they smell a Gewürztraminer, they pick up nutmeg, allspice. Here now, some of the fruit that you could detect: lychee, peach, perhaps mango, ginger. So this is an exotic wine and a lot of spice on the nose. These are the things that you would be able to detect. If you're ordering food and you're thinking about Gewürztraminer, or someone's ordered food and you want to know, should I pair it with a Gewürztraminer? Here, think spicy food. It goes along with the characteristics of the glass. So, now, of course, you could pair it with fruits and cheeses, but the spicy part is a bit more interesting. So just knowing that you can do this with certain foods that are maybe harder to match. In Asia, we cook a lot with Indian masala spices, with Chinese five-spice in my household. These are things that you can pair very well with a Gewürztraminer. It will stand up to them. In terms of bottles to know, if you're looking at a menu or you're thinking about buying a Gewürztraminer, look for Grand Cru vineyards. Grand Cru is the designation for the finest bottles within Alsace. So that should steer you in the right direction. Moving on to Riesling. Riesling is a wine, or is a grape rather, that is a very important grape. It's considered one of the most important grapes in white wine, as a matter of fact. Very important in both Alsace and on the other side of the border in Germany. In a Riesling, what can you expect to detect in the glass? Here, look for citrus, apples, perhaps tropical fruit. Some say that as this wine ages, they can detect petrol notes. Some think that's good, some think that's bad. There's some controversy about this in Germany. But the petrol notes, people feel that as it ages, sometimes it picks that up, and it is identified with this grape varietal. Minerals and stone, so sort of think of wet stone, or if you smell wet stone, what does that smell like? Or minerals, kind of like the minerals content in Perrier, or when you taste that. Also note that in Alsace, one difference between Alsatian Riesling and German Riesling is that there's often a higher alcohol content in the Alsatian Riesling than in the German Riesling. So how would you pair this with food? Well, this is a very natural pairing for white meat, things like chicken. It could go well with duck or goose, other birds, or game for that matter, game birds. Tuna, salmon. Also okay with Chinese food or some spice. Things with ginger and anise, it would also go nicely with it. In looking for the bottles, much like as was the case for Gewürztraminer, look for a Grand Cru vineyards. This again designates the top echelon of wines within Alsace, something that is an indicator of quality for you. So here we talked about three essentials. We talked about the varietal labeling. So when it will say Gewürztraminer or it will say Riesling, makes it a little bit easier on you also as a consumer to know the content. You won't have to memorize the region. Here, the German influence, it's right on the German border, hence leading to a lot of German influence, German labeling, and it's a white wine-driven region, something also to remember about Alsace.